Hello everyone, welcome again to the Indian Polity video lecture series for Civil Services Examination. My name is Shankar Ray. Today is the video lecture number 12. Already in the lecture number 10 and 11 I have initiated half of the portions and completed also half of the portions of the state legislature as well as the parliament. I have already completed in the lecture number 10 regarding the functions as well as the structure of the legislature as well as parliament. In 11 I have discussed the conduct of businesses. Now this is also an important video for the parliament as well as the state legislature related. So I'll request each of you to pay kind attention and listen those things and note down very carefully. Those who have not seen and or watched my videos, the previous 11 videos, I'll request each of you to kindly go back and watch those videos. Now today's topic would be primarily we are going to discuss this is the last video on the state legislature and powers and privileges. Okay, so already we have discussed on the structure and functioning, on the conduct of the businesses. Now in this video we are going to discuss on the power and the privileges. Now when we are talking about the power and the privileges, primarily we are going to focus on the what are the powers of the members of the parliament as well as the members of the state legislature and what kind of privileges they get as being an MP or an MLA or MLC. Now, understanding the fact, the parliament and the state legislature, the privileges mentioned in the constitution. What are the privileges mentioned? Now, they have a freedom of speech and publication under the parliamentary authority. I'll be discussing on the freedom of speech quite extensively to also understand and make you realize that how the freedom of speech and expression, which is mentioned in our constitution under article 19 clause number 1 subclause A of the normal citizens, differs from the freedom of speech what is being enjoyed by the members of the parliament as well as state legislature. The privilege and the power also has the power to make its own rules. It also has the power to internal independence and autonomy, freedom from being arrested, right to exclude strangers from its proceedings and hold secret sessions, that is also possible. And it also has a right to prohibit the publication of its reports and proceedings. That means not allowing the media or any of the publication house. It also has a right to regulate internal proceedings. It also has a right to punish members or outsiders for contempt. Contempt means a breach of the power of the privileges. It also has privileges and the fundamental rights and privileges and the law courts. With that, we have understood a very summary of the kind of powers and the privileges. Now let us understand with a little bit in a more detail. Now Article 105 and Article 194 grants privileges or advantages to the members of parliament, to the MPs. Now they can perform their duties or can function properly without any hindrance. Okay, because we understand our representative as an MP, they have a lot of responsibility and duties to perform. So a special kind of power and privileges are also being granted to them, so that under no circumstances they face any kind of difficulty while doing their own duty. Now such privileges are granted as they are needed for democratic functioning. I have already explained that. So these powers, privileges and immunities should be defined by the law from time to time. Okay, so these privileges are considered as special provisions and have an overriding effect in conflict. So overriding effect in conflict means whenever there is a conflict between the general power as well as the special power of the member of parliament always will prevail over the general power. Now first, the freedom of speech and publication under parliamentary authority. Now this is defined under article 105 clause number 2. If you cannot remember, just remember the article 105. So it gives the members of the parliament freedom of speech under clause number 1, provisions under article 105, that no member of the parliament will be liable in any proceedings. Remember, no member of the parliament will be liable in any proceedings before any court for anything said or anything vote given by him in the parliament or any committee thereof, which means any kind of statement in the parliament are basically not admissible in the court of law. Okay, so the it is the parliament who shall be collectively responsible but not the individual. Of course there are certain exceptions. I'll be discussing later on what are the exceptions where the judicial review also comes into the picture. So also no person will be held liable for any publication of any report, paper, boards or proceedings if the publication is made by the parliament or any authority under it. Okay, so the same provision are stated under article 194 in that members of the legislature of a state. So article 105 is referred to the parliament and article 194 is referred to the state legislature. So I'll be combining discussing the powers and the privileges for both the parliament as well as the state legislature, as moreover they are similar. Wherever there are certain exceptions or there are certain other conditions, especially for mention either for the MPs or the MLAs, then I shall be discussing as a special note. Now both the articles, for example, this is what I was referring, the freedom of speech and publication under parliament, both the articles, so article 105 and 194, article 119 clause number 1 subclause A, which is a fundamental of right of our mentioned in our part 3 of our constitution. This is fundamental right for every citizen of our country, which is referred to the freedom of speech and expression. And article 105 of the constitution talks about the freedom of speech and expression also. However, you need to understand the difference between article 19 clause 1 and A and article 105, that article 19 clause number A applies to citizens but are subject to reasonable restrictions. Okay, so there are reasonable restrictions which are imposed on our fundamental right. However, on article 105 is an absolute privilege given to the members of the parliament. That means they can say whatever they wish, and that is what we have also seen in our parliament. So the difference, if you are asked the difference between the freedom of speech and expression for a general citizen, that means citizen of our India, as well as the member of parliament. Remember, the member of parliament or the MLAs are also citizen of this country, but they enjoy certain special provisions which overrides the general fundamental rights of which are imparted to them. So article 105 is an absolute privilege to them, which doesn't have the reasonable restrictions. If any statement or anything published outside the parliament by any member, and if that is reasonable restricted under the freedom of speech, then that published article or statement will be considered as defamatory. Okay, remember, if any of the statement made by the member of parliament inside the house, then they have the freedom, but if they are making statement outside the house, then there will be certain reasonable restrictions, as they are no longer inside the sovereign parliament or the sovereign state legislature. Further, what are the powers to make rules? The parliament has its own power given by the Constitution of India to make its own rules, but this power is subject to the provisions of the constitution. Of course, the parliament cannot make a rule over the constitution. Okay, so whatever it is written in the constitution, they have to make the rule which has to also be compatible with the constitution. They cannot override the constitution. Though it can make its own rules, the rules should not be made for its own benefits. So the parliament cannot make rules for only for them and privileging them. So the rule shall be as a general common. If they make any rule which infringes any provisions of the constitution, it would be held as a void. Okay, so that is a very simple, that nobody is above the constitution. Constitution is supreme. Now, internal independency or autonomy. Now, for the effective working of both the houses of the parliament and their members, internal independence should exist without interference of any outside party or person. The houses can deal with the respective issues internally. If the issue is pertaining to the Lok Sabha, they have to resolve as well as discuss internally. The Indian judiciary might not interfere with that proceedings or issues dealt in the parliament or by the members in the course of their business. Remember, So the Indian judiciary will not intervene during the discussion. Okay. Nevertheless, it may interfere in proceedings if it is found to be illegal or unconstitutional. Okay. Just giving one example. For example, uh, a normal ordinary bill has to be presented in either of the houses. For example, it is presented in the Lok Sabha, and without following the proper procedure or the majority, it is passed. That is basically unconstitutional. Okay. So the then the judicial review or the court of law will come into the picture. Now, freedom from being arrested. Now, member of MPs as well as the MLAs or MLCs are also having certain freedoms. The member of parliament cannot be arrested 40 days before or 40 days after the session of the house. Okay. If in any case a member of parliament is arrested within this period, the concerned person should be released in order to attend the sessions freely. So it is basically to protect them to be a part of the session. So before 40 days of the session, for example, a session starts on the day number 10. The session starts on the, let's say, X. So before 40 days and the end of the session, let's say Y, and after the 40 days, the person cannot be arrested. So right to exclude strangers from its proceedings. And there is also another one point which I forgot to mention you. I'll just mention to you people that if in case it is a, this is applicable for the civil proceedings. Okay. So in case it is a criminal offense, if a member of parliament or MLA has committed any criminal offense, then the proceedings can initiate immediately, provided the presiding officer has to give the consent. Okay. So for the civil proceedings, the consent of the speaker or the chairperson is not required. Immediately they are immune from being arrested before 40 days as well as the after 40 days. However, in case of criminal offense, immediately the procedure or the initiation of the conviction can be started by the competent authority, but the presiding officer has to give the approval. Now, right to exclude strangers from its proceedings and hold secret session. The object of including right was to exclude the chances of daunting or threatening any of the members. It has also power, if it doesn't want any member to be present in the house, it can also exclude, and it can hold a secret session where it is not known to any of the general public. Now, right to prohibit the publication or its reports and proceedings. It's very simple, as the statement suggests, that it has the right to prohibit any of the reports, any of the proceedings, any of the answers if it wants. Right to regulate internal proceedings. The house has its own internal proceedings methods. In the previous lecture number, I think 11, we have understood regarding the conduct of the business, where the speaker or the presiding officer has its own way. Now, similarly, there are so many conventions which are being developed as well as practiced in our parliament as well as the state legislature, where they follow certain rules and regulations which are made by them as to regulate their internal proceedings and how the proceedings will go, up to what extent it will go, what to include, what not to include. So all those things, they have their own right. Right to punish members or outsiders for contempt. Now, contempt is basically violation of the privileges of the powers which are given to the member of parliament. Remember, one of the contempt which I can tell you that, for example, the judiciary judgments or the name of the judgment or the name of the judge who has given the judgment cannot be uttered in the any of the house of the parliament or the state legislature. Okay, remember, I repeat, the judge who has given the judgment in the Supreme Court or High Court, the name cannot be pronounced in the parliament or the state legislature. It is completely a violation. So a judgment, that is the reason of judgment, when we say it is, we say that it is a Supreme Court who has given the judgment or a High Court who has given the judgment, or in a very general way, it is a judiciary who has given the judgment. We never say that this particular XYZ judge has given the judgment. Okay, so that's one of the example which I just wanted to give you. Now, the house have the right to punish any person for any contempt made against the houses in the present or in the past. Already in the previous slide, conduct a business, we have also known that those people who do not obey the order or defy or create any kind of difficulties in the conduct of business, so the presiding officer has the power to also suspend the membership. Okay, so that is what we have tried to understood. Now, coming next, let us try to understand the privileges and the fundamental rights. Already I have given you the couple of understanding in the previous slides. Now as we all know that part 3 of our constitution, fundamental rights, article 19 clause number 1 subclause a, which exactly states that freedom of speech and expression of our Indian citizens. Now, member of parliaments as well as the MPs, the MLAs, MLCs, they are also the citizens of this country. However, they are also having the freedom under Article 105. Now, their freedom of speech is more absolute than the freedom of speech what the general public enjoys. Now, what are the reasonable restrictions imposed on our freedom of speech? Number one is sovereignty and integrity of India should be maintained, security of the state should be maintained, public order, decency, morality, defamation, okay, incitement to an offense, then contempt of court, then friendly relations with foreign states. Any of the provisions, if it violates, then those will be reasonable restrictions to basically stop the freedom of speech and expression or suspend the freedom of speech and expression. Okay, only for the only for the Indian citizens. However, the member of parliaments inside the house, they do not have that particular privilege. They do not have, sorry, they do not have those restrictions. The freedom of speech what they enjoy is more of absolute in nature. Okay, now privileges and the law code. Trying to understand article 143 of our Indian constitution. 143, again I am going to discuss in the judiciary, probably the video lecture number 13 clause number 3, 13.3, where I shall be discussing on the another which is known as the advisory jurisdictions. Okay, article 143 is basically when president feels or president consults Supreme Court of India at any time that if the question if the president is having any kind of question of fact or law arises or may arise in future, then he or the president of India, he or she can consult the Supreme Court of India. Now also such questions must be public importance. Okay, it cannot be a random question. The question must be public importance and it must be advantageous to seek an opinion of the Supreme Court of India. After such hearing, if the court thinks it relevant, it may give its opinion to the president. Now you have to understand, and this statement is very crucial. One thing is that president has the power to seek advice, and situation number one, if the Supreme Court, of course with the particular public importance, if the Supreme Court feels that it has to give a reply to the president, it can. However, following the reply is not binding on the president. There is also criticality. Basically the more details are taught in the political science optional classes, where there are so many cases. How come the Indian judiciary is also, it is not is also the binding on the president as far as the advisory jurisdiction is concerned. At the same time, the Supreme Court may not even give the advice to the president. That is also possible. So the House of Parliament though have a lot of powers and privileges, immunities, but despite all the advantages, it cannot act or perform similar to a court. No, it cannot. Okay, so the judicial review, which is also a part of our basic structure, the parliament, whatever may be the powers they are having, so they cannot override the judicial review process. The courts are the one who interprets the laws or acts passed by the parliament. For instance, if any offense is committed even in the House of the Parliament, the jurisdiction rests with the ordinary courts also. Remember, there is one interesting point which I would like to highlight here. The point is, if the question arises, who is the final interpreter of the Constitution of India in Parliament, it is the Speaker. And who is the final interpreter of the Constitution in general in India, then it must be the Supreme Court of India. Okay. Now, all these questions are being asked in the UPSC examination, so I'm just recalling and referring to you people, so that in future, in case any kind of questions exactly asked or modified, then you'll be able to answer it. Now, the Parliament enjoys mostly all supreme powers while making laws, exercise its power to the best possible extent. The power of the legislators are too wide, such they decide their own privileges, including points which can breach or lay down privileges. Article 105, clause number 3 for the Parliament MPs, and Article 194, clause number 3 for the state legislatures, the MLS MLCs, states that one parliament should from time to time define the laws or pass the laws on powers, privileges and immunities. The constitution also has given the freedom that they need to decide for themselves what is best and what is not. So with that, I hope that you people have enjoyed regarding the powers and the privileges. Now there are certain other aspects and couple of factual informations regarding the, for example, the anti-defection law and other aspects. So I have not given in detail anti-defection law. I'll be speaking separately, so when time permits. And in a nutshell, I'll just make you understand that anti-defection law, for example, if there is a whip which is passed in the particular house, let's say Lok Sabha. Okay, suppose for example a BJP party, one person which has been authorized to issue the whip has been passed, so no member from the party can defy what the party decides. So that is basically called as whip. And if any member defies the orders of the whip, then the person will be basically can be suspended by the presiding officer. That is also possible. Anti-defying law also suggests that for example, a couple of party members, if they shift from one party to another party, that is, and also holding the ministerial positions, then that is also violation. And that is basically emulated in the anti-defection law, which I'm going to discuss in a very separate issues when time permits, or else in the some kind of live Zoom classes. So for the timing, I have already highlighted these powers and privileges and whatever is most important for your exam point of view. With that, 3 lectures. Now lecture number I think 10, 11 and 12, I have already completed the entire chapter of the state legislature as well as the union parliament. So I will request you people, as many of the questions that do come from this particular topic of the legislature, be it union legislature or the state legislature, I'll advise each of you, please kindly go through in detail and try to remember the steps. Now you'll be asking many questions that how to remember the articles. There is no shortcut, my dear. During my own UPSC preparation also and during my own mains writing as well as preparing for my interview, I have also seen those parts and the journey. It's quite being difficult, but the only way to remember is to revise again and again. So if you are having any kind of question, feel free to ask. Thank you so much.